Time for gaming. Like my hobbies consist of gaming, occasionally watching the latest Apex um, Apex Championship on YouTube. Sometimes getting into Brood War or StarCraft 2
Yeah. Wow.
and
Wow.
squash. And squash,
And
like
squash.
squash. Yeah, in real life, I play squash.
Okay. No, listen. We have all kinds of people, and your background story of doing, let's call it a full cycle in terms of starting, second or third generation in the insurance industry, going out there and doing things that have nothing to do with insurance, actually more on the artistic part, and then coming back to the family business and very successful, I may add. But let's bring the audience into the loop and our conversation from like a few minutes ago. Photography. Is the harmony in my background, does it work? Because I'm talking to a professional photographer.
It could use a bit of work, but I see no problem with it.
Okay. No, well, it's not my place. I'm just renting here. But no, it's important to know this stuff. So, Fabian, first of all, thank you very much for joining me. We should start with some sort of an official introduction. How about tell our audience a little bit about yourself and your brokerage?
My name is Fabian Tatomirescu. I hail from the nice country of Romania in Eastern Europe. At the moment, I am Deputy General Manager at CAMPION Broker, sixth largest Romanian broker. We own close to 5% of the insurance market over here. That officially, I am the Deputy General Manager. Unofficially, I am basically head of digital integration and digital innovation. And regarding our discussion earlier, I'm trying to bring all the knowledge that I got through my time abroad, my time away from the family castle, in time spent in the desert, fighting the dragon, slaying the dragon, and bringing back the
golden
dragon's
goose.
sword. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so how did you roll? Well, Bucharest. Sorry. How did you find yourself in art, fashion, photography? What was that journey?
I knew I wanted to do something other than the family business. I knew I didn't want to be defined by what my family was doing.
How many generations?
I always felt I was I'm my second generation.
Okay,
second generation.
Your father basically started it.
Exactly. Capitalism, power story. He came from nothing. My grandmother on my father's side never went to school. She has 12 brothers. When she was young, they only had 2 pairs of shoes between all of the children. So it's a remarkable story, and it's a daunting story as well. And I never really wanted to be compared with him, and I guess that's why I felt the need to go away and do my own thing. Because how can you live? How can you thrive in the shadow of such a man that managed to beat the odds and carve out a little piece of history for himself?
No, I can imagine. So you go out, you go to the world and find something that you're good at, something that is dear to your heart, and of course your vision, your passion. But let me go back and touch a little bit of that piece of history in capitalism, because nowadays, and especially most of our audience is in the US, a few in other locations in Europe, so they will be a little bit more familiar with the history of Romania. When was the fall of Ceausescu?
89. The year I was born in.
So I assume, with the fall of the Soviet and the communist bloc, free market introduced. With that, of course, there was the end of Ceausescu tyranny.
It was the Wild East.
The
It
Wild
was the
Wild East.
Wild East.
And with that, I assume that was that the timing when your father started to build his agency,
No,
brokerage?
the brokerage business started later, something closer to 97, 98. I think that's when he started hearing about insurance and insurance brokerage. But I think it really took off in 99.
Yeah. So yeah, it's an interesting time here in the U.S. and Western world that you see so many voices that are very socialist. And this is not a political podcast, although I have many opinions about various geopolitical issues, but this is not the platform. But I do want to bring that up because it's very interesting to people who don't understand the power of capitalism and the opportunity that it brings also from economic stability and safeguard, especially when it comes to insurance. And yeah, if you have more to say, otherwise we can move on to photography and fashion and Vogue or Elle, or really depends which part of the fashion powerhouses you took part in.
Quick, I just want to briefly touch on the idea of capitalism. Just pay your employees, don't do tax evasion, be fair and honest, and be really competitive in the market, and things will turn out properly. Just don't don't be an asshole.
Don't be an asshole. Yeah, that's a good philosophy.
I tried to go for the PG version and say ash.
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay.
You're good. Listen, there is this podcast is for education, for people who are in the industry. It's not going for PG whatever. There is no kid out there going like, oh my God, mom, someone said ass on this podcast I'm listening to because I'm so excited about insurance and InsurTech, because that's what every, 12 years old kid is doing here in the US. Yeah, sadly they don't, but that's part of it. Okay, so let's move on and let's talk about, so you decided to step away before you came back to insurance. You went to photography. Was that the segue to fashion?
Photography, fashion, like a freelance photographer, and then freelance photographer in fashion, then started working with Romanian brands and international magazines, and started working with a really powerful Romanian brand, went international with it as a brand manager, had a falling out, and after that tried my own venture as a fashion designer. And at one point I started importing textiles from Bangladesh. Didn't really work out because 2020 happened.
Heard about that. Yeah.
It's a little thing called 2020. Started a little foray into gaming. I had an idea. I wanted to build a classical RPG, a real big passion project. Let alone, I did not have the necessary experience at the time to understand that as your first outing, you should never go for a passion project. You should go for a cash cow, and then build towards the passion project. I guess it took me all of this time, like from 15 to 32 years of different odd jobs and exploring what you would call creative industries, and always trying to improve the process, like understanding, and then perfecting, and understanding some more and perfecting. It took all of this time to really have something to bring back home and be able to take the company to the next level. Actually bring back something worth the prize to my father, in order to prove, yes, I am your son, I am your legacy, I am worthy of carrying on the torch.
Wow. Now I'm just thinking about, do we still have those values here? Or we completely lost it? And and we are going back to a Joe Rogan kind of a conversation of the meaning of life. Because it's one of the values that we kind of lost here in the US and other Western countries, that you don't have the second generation to continue. And I know it as well because my father, with all of his stuff, he still is in his 70s now, and he still has a farm. And as the firstborn, I'm not there to help him to work that farm, right? Although agriculture, and it doesn't matter that he has a PhD in agronomy and he's also a lawyer and so many other things, because you cannot make any money from agriculture. It's nowadays it's a little bit different if you build something and there is no succession, and of course, unless you follow Succession, the HBO series, and then you are not
good
really.
Show. It's a really good show.
Yes, it is. Okay, let me try to get to our main topic, which is gamification. Because I hear so many people, especially early startups, and I had the opportunity also to mentor one startup that at the end of the day, I kind of hinted to the guy as much as I can hint, instead of just saying it with bold font, going like, dude, it's not a good fit for insurance. What is gamification? Okay, let's start from the basic. What's gamification?
At its lowest level, or at, if you believe in an iceberg, then the gamification iceberg, at first glance, you would say it's points, badges, and leaderboards.
Okay, yeah.
And that is just barely scratching the surface. I highly recommend Yukai Cho's Actionable Gamification. Amazing book, amazing course. Really a real eye-opener for me, and it set me on the path of discovering how to improve sales through gamification.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to use the fancy term of user-centered design. Like, the idea of gamification is really clickable. It's clickbait. Clickbait when you say gamification, but what it actually is user-centered design, like designing the entire experience of something around the user's needs and wants that the user isn't necessarily aware of for most of the time. Like, so that's what gamification is to me, is building systems around and actions that the user can take with regards to creating meaning, with regards to feeling ownership or social influence, having the feel of accomplishment or empowerment, feeling that things are scarce, and maybe even trying through certain means to encourage an avoidance type of behavior or unpredictability. That's another metric that needs to be accounted for. So it's complex, but at first glance, points, badges, and leaderboards.
No, we passed that. So points, badges, leaderboard, that's like the lowest hanging fruits, and this is, as you mentioned, the top of the iceberg, and that's what people see. But then there are other actions, as you kind of listed most of them. But when we are looking from the insurer side or the company, right? So you mentioned we would like to introduce certain behaviors. So we want to set a certain path so people can take those actions or develop a habit or things like that. How does it translate to the world of insurance? What do we need? What is the gaming mechanism that we need to insert, or the behavior that we want them to achieve, so they will follow suit?
I will use my example, and because I can't really speak for anybody else, and the things that we are doing are still in the experimental stage. But what really set off an alarm bell inside my head, and what really turned me on to this idea, was my own process with regards to how I approach competitive gaming. Because I used to play Apex Legends, like I told you. I used to have a Predator rank, 0.3% of the entire player base of the world. Back when I was 12 years old, I qualified for an European championship in Germany for StarCraft.
Oh, wow.
And the way I went about it was, okay, a lot of experimenting back then, when it was about StarCraft. Like, okay, so I'm gonna make this unit, and how many clicks does it take to build a certain thing? Okay, what type of combinations are best? Am I gonna go pylon gas, then Nexus at 19 pylons, and probably the geeks know what I'm talking about, like classical openings, like just like in chess. So just like in chess. And when I discovered Apex Legends, which is a totally different type of game, but nonetheless it's an engaging game, and one that really made me think a lot. Well, I wasn't good at it, and I thought, okay, I'll never get past bronze, or I'll never get past silver. I'll never get past gold. Oh, I couldn't even dream of gold. And then I realized that there is the internet at my disposal, and a lot of things, and a lot of people that can actually teach me about all of these things. And the idea was that I would spend time learning, watching other people, and then going back and um, and practicing and getting better, and going back and practicing and learning. And along this path, somewhere I realized, oh, but I really want to get that specific type of achievement. I really want to
Mhm.
get a victory with certain type of conditions. I really want to use that specific weapon rather than another weapon. I really want to get good with that, and so on and so forth. How do I translate that to a business environment where everything is either in Excel or in stuffy PDFs, or like I don't know about other people, but I tried learning about insurance via YouTube, and it's not an easy experience. It's not a sexy experience. It's not user centered.
And you don't have a community.
You
So
don't have a
you were
community.
talking
Yes.
about, well, only from the things that you mentioned so far, there are so many follow-up questions. For example, okay, what's a motivation that keeps you going and want to go to the next rank and the next rank?
Mm-hmm.
What's the motivation and what drives you forward to go to silver and gold? That's one.
What's the moment-to-moment gameplay? Make it fun, make it interesting, make it feel like, oh,
You need
I'm
to accomplish
learning,
and
and I'm getting
finish.
better as I'm learning, and have everything in one place.
Can you imagine that you go to insurance or insurance gamification for the dolphins? That's actually a funny idea. But going back to something a little bit more serious here. So there is a mechanism here that pushes you forward, and then you need that aha moment, that light bulb is like, hey, I should actually go on the internet, if it's YouTube or just different forum,
Hmm.
Substacks, whatever that may be, to
Yeah.
learn so I can advance. So, and
Hmm.
of course, we all know that Twitch became like a big thing, and you have nowadays people watching and reacting
Exactly.
to other people watching games. They don't
Hmm.
play, they watch how other people react to watching people watching games.
Because at a certain point, I can get better just by watching you. Like, if I get to experience that a similar type of scenario, uh, I jump over a certain type of wall when the enemy isn't expecting, or some such nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I remember I saw him doing that. I'm gonna do the same. In sales, it's sort of similar. Oh, What did Gilad tell me at one point about sales? Oh, I remember. I'm going to use that. I'm going to use that today in a presentation.
So are you generating TikToks or short reels? I think that reels is for them, and shorts is for YouTube. One of them. So people can quickly consume and get those feedbacks if it's for sales, if it's, by the way, is that for the internal organization or is that for the policyholders?
It's for the entire ecosystem.
Okay.
In the ideal world, it would be for the entire ecosystem. The way that we're approaching it right now is just for the sales force, but we want to take it to the customers as well, because an informed customer is the best type of customer. Because an informed customer keeps me on my toes, drives the competition forward. And I love competition. I am competitive. That's why I got into gaming. That's why I play squash all the time. And I just hired a personal coach because I want to be better. Because I want to be better than the people that I'm playing with.
By the way, this is so smart. This is so smart. People forget, or I don't want to call it cheap. Very frugal in terms of hire experts. There are coaches. If you want to get better at one thing, hire an expert, hire a coach. They will take you to the next level. And from someone who is like your private coach, there are all kinds of, we can go back and talk about the content. Having said that, one day I will hire someone that will help me with my accent. It will never work. I know it. I'm too proud and my ego will be in the way. But
it's a lovely accent. So to wrap up all my meandering, because I have meandered quite a lot, there is a lot to cover. The idea is that I try to replicate my experience and my aha moments in learning.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm fascinated with learning and I can translate my fascination for learning and the feeling I get when I get better at something because I learned it, that's gamification. That's gamification. So I want to take that, package it up real nicely, and create an experience for our sales force that makes them go, I want to become better. I love learning new things. I want to be better, because you know what happens when I get better? I make more money. I make more money.
And that's one of the better incentives that we see, especially for a sales force. And I think that
I make more money, I have more time. I make more money, therefore I can afford to have more time and invest in getting better, to have more money, to have more time.
Are we going for the story now of the rich guy and the Mexican fisherman?
I have no idea. You have to tell me. Like
it's an old story. There are all kinds of. At the end of the day, it's a very rich guy that is, going for a vacation on the beach. It can be in Greece, it can be in Mexico, Costa Rica. I heard it in a couple of examples. Basically, he sits on the beach. You see this guy is super happy. It's like, the fish is great. He buys. The guy cooks him there and then. Ask him, what do you do? And he's like, I go, I fish, I come back. And he's like, if you'll just do it a little bit longer, you can make more fish, you can make such and such money.
I get it.
Now you can say, you can increase, and then you need that, and then you can export.
And 20 years later, you get to do what you're already doing now.
Exactly.
I guess everybody has their own drive. For me, it was always about the process. Like, make the process fun. Like, the money is amazing, of course, but make the process in itself fun. Like, play to earn. Make the journey really real fun, because there are a lot of really powerful sellers, people in Salesforce, like really talented. They earn a lot of money. What do I bring to the table for them? They've been through it. They've done it all. Make it fun. Make it even more fun and engaging than it has ever been.
Yeah, it's like, what's the phrase for that? The journey to the treasure is the treasure. But dude, you need a little bit of treasure in your pocket to pay for the food and the hotel on the way to the treasure. And as we mature and we know a little bit, we realize that and that's something that I heard recently, hot shower is amazing, and we take it for granted. And for us, it's something that our grandparents didn't really have. Our
I don't
parents
know
were
about you. But in the northern part of Bucharest, where it's the fancy part of Bucharest, sometimes we get hot water once a month.
okay.
It's a recurring meme in Eastern Europe and in Romania, especially, that in the posh part of town, they're always replacing. They're
Always
always
changing the pipe.
always changing the pipes.
Gotcha. Well,
So I kind of get our grandparents. They didn't have hot water.
But the parents were. But having said that, with taking it more serious, there are many places around the world that they still don't have hot water. But it's the small thing that we take for granted that are not. You need to think, how do we have it and how great it is. Right. I open the tap here, I will have scalding hot water, and sometimes the problem is that they are too hot. Oh my God, such a miserable life.
I'll go in a pessimistic direction. My mother had renal failure. She had to go on dialysis. That is a really heavy cross to bear if you don't have the proper funds. If you're not making enough money. My uncle has cancer. That's difficult. A lot of people, it's really nice when we're talking about running water and the luxuries of a modern life. But at the end of the day, what money ensures you is quality healthcare. Even when the state pays for healthcare, like in Eastern Europe, because socialism, it's still good to have the treasure in your pocket to have access to better healthcare.
Yeah. Yes, and as we call it, health and family comes before everything else.
Yes, because if you don't have health, you can't take care of your family, and if your family isn't there, well, probably you won't really make it. Probably.
And that's the most interesting part, in terms of our day-to-day pecking order and our principles and values and where things at. And I'll do a sharp turn here, taking us back to gamification and to talk about that, because it's part, there are entrepreneurs and business people who listen, and from time to time, we don't have that conversation. I try to bring, personal topics. I try to bring aha moments, or how different businesses, people grew, got a vision, reach, manage to fund them and to make sure that they have the right capital and pivot and what's the difference, because this is the only way that we can learn if we are not reinventing the wheel ourselves. But I'll stop here and take that turn that I just mentioned.
Right.
So your focus, right, is to gamify the process and improve your sales force. Most of the people always think about the policy holder, right? Because they are like, hey, gamification, we're going to give them, as you said, the badges and leaderboards, and that's, run more, and we're going to, you'll get some sort of a discount. But this is the first time that I'm hearing about someone who's like, actually, let's focus on the workforce, on the sales force. How can we do that better? Now, how do you set up the achievements for them? And what do you think will make it what makes it sticky today, so they keep using it and you have traction in the system?
The premise is that a sales force is by definition a competitive environment. So everybody has access to everything that everybody else does, in gross terms. So you always know exactly where you're situated within the ladder. And the way that you go up the ladder is that you do the quarterly achievements. What are the quarterly achievements? Well, they're basically KPIs that are in the benefit of both yourself and the company. If the company had, in this case, Campion Broker, if the company has a certain quota and is gonna be according to our statistics, it's ideally to sell a lot of Costco or a lot of health for the next 3 months, because this is the best environment to do so. Then I will just trickle that down through a very pleasing interface towards my sales force, right at the tip of their fingers within the app, and they will see, hey, okay, I need to sell 6 policies within the next 4 weeks.
Mhm.
I usually sell I usually sell one less than that. What will it take to just get one more policy in? And because I get one more policy in, I get a bonus with regards to money. And because I'm also getting XP, and I go up the ladder. And the further I go up the ladder, the more challenging the KPIs become. What happens at the end of the quarter? Everything resets, and depending on my achievements from the last quarter, I get the bonus, and I go up the ladder a bit more just by default. So I don't have to start from zero constantly. What's really nice about the system is that it doesn't impact the way that you're selling at the moment. It's purely optional. Like, it's the gaming aspect is purely optional. If you want to take part in it, fine. If you don't want to take part in it, that will never impact you monetarily. You will always get the extra bonus, or you'll always get your money, your commission, even though you like, if you manage to hit your KPIs, even though you didn't know that those KPIs existed, because that's fair.
So I'm looking nowadays, and it's partially relevant, right? I'm looking at a certain deal as an advisor, and part of a subsection of it is incentives, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's basically, how can we help the new company create an incentives, to retain the talent of the other company that they are kind of merging with. And the other one is the leadership, right? You have the leadership, you have the employees, you really want to bring them in and create some sort of incentives. There are always, let's call it cultural challenges.
Cultural challenges.
However, for me, my focus is, what are the financial incentives, to keep the leadership in place until there will be the cultural merge, and to keep the employees in place in order so they will continue, generating and being efficient and productive, right? At the beginning, there will be no change. They will not feel any change. Slowly, there will be new policies, which are not that different from the current policies, but that's when the cultures of the two organizations kind of merge. And in your opinion, how can we add some sort of a gamification to that?
That is a very difficult question.
I know.
I'm not entirely sure that I'm up to the task of actually answering it properly, but I will try my best. I will try my best.
It's a theoretical question.
I know it's a theoretical question, but I really love puzzles, so thank you for indulging me.
My pleasure.
Ideally, it would work if the entire mechanism would be fully digital and the people would interact only on a digital level, or every time an action happens within the hierarchy of the company, it would be logged automatically. The beauty of it has to be logged automatically because us as people, as human beings, as flesh and bone people, we tend to forget. We tend to be lazy. Like even me, a highly competitive person, that has an app installed on its phone, on his phone, and with my wife, we have an app, and we have to log in the chores around the house, and whoever has more points at the end of the week wins. Even I forget to do that. Forget
To log your chores.
to log my chores. Now, in a highly dynamic business environment
Mm-hmm.
where every second, like, maybe I'm exaggerating, but every minute counts and is precious, and every moment of bandwidth that you can spare is precious. Talent will not have the disposition to log in those KPIs that they accomplish by themselves. But if you would have an ideal system where everything would be recorded at automatically, and then um, you would get a notification on your phone directly that, oh, congratulations, you managed to do this. Here is your XP. Here is your digital currency that you can now use in order to learn more stuff, or you can give to other people, or you can use in any way, shape, or form that you want within the company. That would be amazing. Why? Because you would have the retention of the talent and the management to keep on and keep them going in a reinforced positive feedback loop with very specific KPIs. You want them to be friendlier and nicer and more concise when delegating. Sure, that's gonna happen. They get the feedback. They get the ding, just like in World of Warcraft back in the day. They go ding. Everybody would congratulate you because it would be a very known thing, public thing within the guild. The same would have to be here. Like every accomplishment would be celebrated by the entire team because everything would be out in the open.
Mm-hmm.
Bad players are gonna or bad faith players will be automatically removed from the system, not by the system but by the rest of the team, because hey,
Ooh,
why don't you have the same values as us?
no, that's a very good point. How do you? I'm sorry, I'm jumping to the previous topic about your mechanism and how you work with your sales force. How do you work with the laggers? Are you removing them from the team? No, you set, because you have compensation for the leaders, those
Hmm.
who run and sell and overperform. But
I
what
have
do you?
I have for everybody that overperforms.
Mhm.
If you don't want to engage with the game, you don't have to. Don't
Okay,
have to. You're still in the company. You're doing everything at your own pace. But
I
you
see.
were. I was trying to give the ideal response in a vacuum where the the task was to gamify the experience of transitioning from one culture to another or merging two
Yeah,
cultures.
yeah. No, I
So
get that.
it's a different type of mechanism.
Now, let me ask you something else, because I see that we are like reaching the minute 40 here. How do we apply gamification for the policyholders? For now, most of the insurance companies, mainly life insurance, been looking to incentivize and create all kinds of gamification-esque programs for, the very healthy individuals, which basically you need to be a marathon runner just to qualify for those programs. How do we set it for them, right? We can ask them, oh, you need to prove me that you're walking, I don't know, an hour, or doing at least 5 hours of cardio a week, or are there better ways or other programs? I think that will work for PNC as well.
We already have that. It's called bonus malus. Like it's a bonus malus type of reward. If you just make that really really transparent and explain to the customer
Mm-hmm.
like within an app, like a real app, not like a universal type of app that's there regardless of what carrier you're with, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would have, or like a credit score. like you guys in the US have a credit score. Like make that as transparent as possible. Educate me so that I may get a better score at my bonus malus or my credit, and that's how you gamify it. Like teach me how to become better. Teach me how to get a better score.
Mm-hmm.
Set a few tasks and make sure that those are updated automatically when I complete the tasks. And that's how you gamify for your end user.
Because when I'm thinking about the interaction with insurance companies, there isn't much, right? You have the first interaction, really depends on, I'm talking about not commercial. Commercial is a little bit different. Maybe actually within the commercial there is more opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
But let's look at personal lines, right? You
Yeah,
have your
like
car,
retail.
you have your property, retail insurance. You have your house, maybe apartment, a car, maybe two.
Mm-hmm.
That's it, right? So you have buying the insurance because you just bought a house, you bought a car. The last one, if you are in California, they don't want to insure you anymore because they are afraid of fires, all kinds of different reasons. Okay, there is the one touch point. You need to get insurance. That's one.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have paying premium, so which
Right?
is a negative, emotionally negative. I want money, I want money, I want money, I want money. And that's what they're asking. That's the only interaction that you see from the insurance company. So negative. And then you have a claim. There was some sort of an accident. Your house burned down. There is a leakage, an accident with a car. Something bad happened that you want to see a remedy. So yet another negative experience. Then there is a question of the remedy and the fixing that process in terms of getting the claim and getting compensated and going back to almost full. There is, let's call it, back to 100% minus epsilon zero.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go back to continue paying. So within all this negative emotion,
Within all this negative emotion, give me meaning.
give me meaning.
Create the idea of meaning and empowerment. Like use tactics of avoidance because I don't want to give my money because I don't want to give my money. I don't want to think about the bad stuff. Use that, but use that in a way that makes me feel that I have accomplished something, that I have ownership of what I am doing. Make everything transparent. How do you empower me? How does Uber empower its users? They just show them the map and where their Uber driver is with regards to the traffic and how long it will take for the driver to get to the destination. That piece of interaction and just the interface, that's empowering to a user because I don't have to sit there and wonder, oh, what's going on. It makes the entire thing very, very transparent. We need something of the sort on the carrier side. Make claims really, really transparent. Tell me the average time for resolving a claim. Show me with bullet points exactly how many times I've offended you, and I got a negative score on my bonus malus, so that I can get better.
Yeah, sure. No,
Or
it's
give me a prize at the end because I've been such a good boy and lower my premium.
Now, I'm looking at that now that you're saying it. I'm thinking about more in an abstract way because at the end of the day, it's risk management. And if the small taps, let's call it the Chinese water torture device of pay monthly premium, and that's what you see, how much money, and then you may or may not receive, once there is the accident, you may or may not receive all of the money back. I'm just trying to think about more in an abstract way, and then all the content that you mentioned earlier, which will be not talk about insurance, but talk about risk management and starting the education there and bring, looking at other people who are doing that and kind of smarter, because we don't have too many sages of being practical. That basic knowledge that we see outside of the cities is not there yet. So maybe that's an interesting opportunity to create all those shorts and education about how do you take care of yourself financially. People don't know how to invest, so how do you plan for that? Taxation, the same thing. So today we have an expert for everything. However, you need to know it as well, because in the US, every year we submit a return, we file our tax returns, and I have my bookkeeper, I have my CPA, but early on, I had to verify that my CPA actually knows what he's talking about, because he's only punching numbers, right? The numbers that I gave him, is just punching them in his own fancy TurboTax or whatever software people use.
YouTube is the prime example. YouTube is the prime example of people being self-educating and wanting to self-educate.
And from there, how can the insurance companies push that and create a set of education so the policyholder will have the drive to self-educate itself? Oh, I hate using self-educate.
And change the narrative from how much you pay to how much you save.
To how much you learn and how much you save, and how, I don't know, financially educated you are, or we need to give it a nicer word about.
I have the perfect example to illustrate this with regards of shifting your view.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, I realized that Volkswagen, on their heads-up display, don't have fuel consumption. They have fuel economy.
Okay.
They were the first back in, I'll not say a year, but roughly 10 years ago. I specifically remember seeing this, that, oh, I've never seen this before. Everybody else has fuel consumption. And they were like, no, your fuel economy is this. It's not how much your car consumes, how many liters it consumes. It's your fuel economy. It's a change of narrative. It's a change of perspective. It eases a reluctant audience into, okay, this is something safe. This is something I can get behind. This is something that I can get behind. I'm not paying. I'm actually saving money.
Interesting. Okay, that will open a new can of worms in terms of understanding what's the economy, why did they rebrand the same thing, what's the benchmark, how do they do all these calculations. It's actually very interesting, because same thing, just rebrand it and it's something completely different. And by the way, most of the startups that we deal with today in terms of pivoting, same technologies, just pivot the business use case or how the consumer perceive it. But sorry, you were about to say something?
It's just the tip of the iceberg, because it's just like with gamification. Like, yes, the marketing is just the tip. It has to be centered around that ethos. The rest of the business has to be centered around that ethos.
As we are reaching the end of the podcast, let me ask you the same question or similar question to I'm asking everyone. Can you share with us an advice that you will give your younger you who started this journey to the treasure?
Have patience. Have patience with yourself. Have fun. Don't give up. It's all about the journey, not about the end of the journey, because the journey never really stops. And be kind to yourself, even at your darkest. Be kind to yourself. Because only by being kind, you'll be able to later on be better.
And look at that. It was an episode without statistics and numbers, although I love those because they'll concrete us to what actually happens. Love data. And we weren't too political, weren't we?
No. Barely.
I'll stop recording, then we can talk about politics. Okay, right. Fantastic. Fabian, thank you very, very, very much for joining me today. It was a pleasure talking with you and just, bouncing ideas about the gamification and how we can use it in the insurance industry.
It was a pleasure, my good sir. It was a pleasure, my good sir. Thank you.